Well, I've opened up the compost bins this morning. When I got up, there was frost on the car, frost on the ground. And I was thinking, there's a real opportunity here. When the ground's this hard, you can move that wheelbarrow around without churning up the grass. So I'm going to make really good use of that this morning. And the other thing is, when you're doing something really physical, like moving that manure, being a bit chilly just helps keep the temperature under control, which is nice. Now I noticed this morning the compost is steaming, and that means that it's underway and it's starting to decompose. But I want it to do that in there, so I need to get shifting really. I'll show you the heap. It certainly is steaming. Well, you can just about see it there against that wooden shed background. But it's getting some heat up in this pile, so that's good news. And I'll get it moved and hopefully it'll start steaming further down the plot. Well, there's a few critical things with compost and compost heaps, and one of them is getting the temperature up. And my thermometer will tell us what we've got at the moment in this pile. To get this sort of heat, you do need a good volume, and I work on the basis of about a cubic metre of compost material to get the centre of it getting warmed up. And then, of course, that heat kills off the seeds. So this horse manure has got wheat in it. It's got lots of seeds in here. And the only way of turning it into the rich compost that you've seen me use on the plot and not have weeds is to get that temperature. So in here at the moment, we've got 130 degrees centigrade and 56 degrees Fahrenheit, which is on the thermometer, which is a compost thermometer, well into the green zone and really very warm. So just a minute ago my fingers got really freezing cold, so I just put them into the compost heat and they warmed up in seconds. It is really hot in there, which is great. Oh well, on we go. Well, that's one hell of an effort. I don't think I've ever moved 3 trailers of horse manure in one go, but it was well worth doing. And there's a little bit left up there, and I'm loath to clean it up at the moment because it seemed a lot easier just putting it over the fence and then wheeling it down like this. So I don't think I'm going to clean it up and then add more to it. Now this has been steaming away, which is great. And normally I would water this, but it's pretty damp. It's been subject to the rain over the last couple of days, and it's just about ideal. And you can tell that, of course, because the heat is built up with it. So I'm going to get this one covered now, and that'll be cooking away now, ready for 2022. Well, the path has taken a little bit of wear, I must say, but that frozen ground held out for quite a while. This will recover no problem, and it's why I do this work during the winter. And we're in a bit of a mess up here. It won't take me too long to get it sorted out, but as I say, it's probably better if I'm going to have more delivered, just to hang in there a bit. I probably won't be able to resist tidying that up though, but it won't be today. What I did gather while I was working on that heap was these, what I call horse nuggets. And they are just the perfect fertilizer to mix in with the strawberries when I get to preparing them in their baskets in the polytunnel. So I was looking around this morning thinking, don't those gooseberry bushes look fantastic waiting to come through this season? And I always planned to have two effectively hedgerows here. So it's a really good time to get those lines right. Unfortunately, this weed membrane's got these lines on. So it won't be long now before I think about pruning these, and I'll probably use those lines just to get a nice straight edge on both sides, and hopefully we can keep those gooseberries under control, because once they get cracking, they can get a bit unruly. This one in the middle here, I think I'll let bush quite a lot, but I will just take off the edge where that one's branching out. These wallflowers have taken a real hard frost today, but they'll be absolutely fine. And we've got some fantastic showing of daffodils, the Welsh national flower, which Mrs. K put into the flower beds. She's got a couple more down in here. And then in the main flower bed, a really good showing. There's some there. And here, I was amazed to see, is the first bud. And there's another one coming through there. It won't take too long now before they get cracking. And we've got another clump of them there. It's going to be a real sight. So, we're thinking that these chrysanthemums need really shaping. They've just splayed out and they need support when they're growing to be able to form a decent looking bush. So we'll probably be cutting round those. But it's certainly looking okay at this time of year, considering how cold it's been. I took a look at the pond this morning just to see if there was going to be any chance of moving on with that. To be fair, it's drained down a lot. I can see the bottom now, but I don't think I'm going to be in there for a day or two. Apparently it's more rain tomorrow and then a better day on Sunday, so we'll see. There's always plenty to do. I'm sort of hatching a plan for this area. You can see the growth of the blackberries in there is just incredible. And I cut those down continually and they just seem to come through. And I was thinking the other day that we could do with the chickens having a bit more space to run around. And I was thinking, if I just fence this in and have a route to the coop, maybe even both coops, so that they could get in there and forage, maybe that would just keep the weeds down. I'd have to take the brambles down at the beginning and I'd have to clear it and just give it a chance. But they're notoriously good at removing all the fresh shoots in the ground. You only have to take a look in this area to get an idea. And I'm thinking, if I could manage to get that sort of ground clearance in this current area, then that might be a good thing. You can see the black currants are budding up now quite well. And I think it didn't ought to be too long before I get in here while I can and sort out some of this growth. And I think I'm going to clear this bush completely. It's absolutely huge down there. I do have a gooseberry in here which I want to protect, and of course I want to protect the back currants. But the chickens are not going to do any harm at 1 foot above ground level. They tend to work really low all the time. So there's a bit of a plan forming in my head. Of course, that means I've got to obtain somehow some sort of chicken fencing, and it needs to be durable but not cost an arm and a leg, so that might be a bit of a dilemma. We'll see how we go. But I know they'd enjoy it. I'd enjoy watching them, and I'd certainly enjoy not having to keep working on that during the summer months. We'll see. Well, this is the latest accumulation of turf and the clay that I took out of the new bed. And the excess here will just flatten off nicely. There's a bit of a dip in the ground here, and we can just get that level. And this area is really shaping up now in terms of levels. I think it probably needs a little bit more down by the compost area, but generally it's pretty good. And I'm keeping that turf just in case I need it. This morning while I was working on the compost, this area started off nice and firm, but now it's just like putty really. So I don't know, I think anything I put here is going to be a challenge, so I might just leave it to dry out. Well, the compost that I prepared last year has done really well, but I've still got this bed to do, which has got a few turnips in it. I'll have to do the sprout bed when they come out finally, and I've got 2.5 beds to do here, so I actually think I'm just about going to scrape it. It's interesting with these beds because I've had a great deal of pleasure growing in them, but there's a real case here for only growing what you need. And I thought we would use more celeriac, and I thought we'd use more swede, and we can go on using this for now for probably a couple of months. But I'm beginning to feel I probably overdid it on the celeriac, and I think keeping the crops wider apart, I definitely didn't need to be that close together. And these swedes, well, they're okay. I could probably have done with just 2 rows. I might have got bigger swede. You can see some of these on the edge are really small, and they definitely are affected by how closely you grow them together. So you learn all the time when you're growing, and of course you need to grow what you eat, and I've learnt that over the years. I've grown some fancy things that have been fun, but not really ended up eating many of them. So it's about growing what you're going to eat these days for me. Well, the parsnips, the tops are beginning to be a bit worse for wear, and I shall be getting those out pretty soon because we need to roast them, and this little bit is still needing to be covered with compost. So roasting parsnips, parsnips in stews, anything that has a parsnip in it sounds like a good recipe to me. I do enjoy them. My purple sprouting broccoli has become really quite vigorous now, and as the days get a bit warmer it'll really start growing, and I would imagine we'll be harvesting this at the back end of February. So I'm looking forward to that. Staking it up like this was definitely the right thing to do. And what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in there? Is that too many? Should I have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Possibly. We'll see what the heads are like. I know with this particular crop you don't get an awful lot of the edible heads, so we'll see. The jury's out on that one. What I have got to do at some time in the not too distant future is harvest the Jerusalem artichokes. Last year I split them into 2 pots because I had just one, and they've got to the point now where I can just see the remains of the leaves and stems, and there's obviously strawberries growing in there as well. And I think it's going to be very soon time to take all of those out sort out the ones that we want to eat and put some back for another year's crop. We do enjoy them, but not too many. Well, I really do enjoy a day like today. It's cold, but it's bright. And the garden's pretty dormant, but it's just full of potential. And I'm looking at the new bed thinking, hopefully I'll get some good courgettes out of there this year. I think I'm giving it the best possible chance. And the squash bed, which has got a long way to go, is going to enable me to grow the same amount of plants, but bigger spaces. The leeks at this time of year are really on their last legs. You can see how the frost has got hold of the stems and some of them are fallen over. There's probably just 1 or 2 mils left in there, but they've been quite good. I've been pleased. And I notice some YouTubers are already sowing leeks for this coming year. It's a bit early for me. I just don't feel like I can keep them at the right size ready to plant if I start them this time of year. So it's going to be a bit of delay before I get those into the compost. It's mid-January and the rhubarb has different appearances based on its variety. And here we've got a really old rhubarb, which I don't know the name of, but no new growth at all. Same with this one. This is the same one, and I've got a couple of buds coming through, which is nice to see. And then we get on to these earlier varieties, and you can see the leaves just about to burst out there. And there's one bursting out there. And this one, which is a fairly substantial plant, is absolutely covered in new growth. And then this fella, Rhubarb Victoria, which is an early, is still pretty dormant, to be honest. I've got to decide whether I want to force any this year. And putting a bucket over it, or at least a dustbin or something like that, can bring on some lovely sweet shoots. So, I don't know, do a bit of research and see what it says. I think that's about it for today. As I say, I've never moved 3 trailers of horse manure before, and I've got to say, I'm feeling the effects of it. There's a beautiful wren just flown in there. It's going to go and see what I've been doing. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.